girls, grab your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so one Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.
Fasten your seatbelts.
The loudest weekend of the year is back, louder than life in Louisville, Kentucky, with Slayer, Slipknot, Motley Crue, Korn, Judas Priest, Disturbed, Five Finger Death Punch, Breaking Benjamin, Evanescence, Falling in Reverse, The Offspring, and so many more. September 26th through 29th in Louisville, Kentucky. Passes on sale now at louderthanlifefestival.com.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And a real quick housekeeping note, if you're watching us on YouTube or BitChute or Rumble or Odyssey, please hit that follow and subscribe button. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple, Google, whatever podcast platform you utilize, please hit that follow and subscribe button so I can continue to bring you conversations like the one I'm bringing you today. I am catching up with Mr. Jason Charles Miller. What's going on, man?
How are you? Well, I'm right behind the venue here, and just getting into town here in Lexington, Kentucky today.
Nice. And you guys are now what's the name of the venue you guys are playing at today?
The Manchester Theater.
Awesome. Is this still part of the Steel Panther tour?
It is. Here, I'm going to try to. I know I've got a weird light. Maybe this will look better like this.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm right. We're part of the Steel Panther tour, and it's been going really good. We got, I don't know, about a dozen more shows with them, and it's been going great. Their fans have been great to us, and and it's been good seeing some fans that we saw last year a lot out on the road, seeing them again, and yeah, it's going awesome.
Nice. And you're live from the Miller Mobile, and
yeah. Inside the Sprinter, baby, the Sprinter.
And so usually when I have people on for the first time, I like to get a really quick background. Do you remember originally what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Yeah, I wanted to be an astronaut. Then I wanted to be the president of the United States. And then I wanted to be a singer.
And then what was it that what were some of your early inspirations that guided you to the singing?
Well, so it's interesting. It's probably a story old as time. My parents gave me Beatles records and then John Denver records. And then my stepbrothers gave me Kiss records. And I don't know, something happened in between there where I got a Johnny Cash record and a Clash record, and it just everything sort of started sparking something in me. Apparently, when I was 5 years old on a train, I started singing Country Roads by John Denver and in this little entertainment cart or entertainment car, and that is apparently what sparked the entertainer bug in me, according to my dad. I don't remember it, but that's what happened.
Like, when was it that you started really, taking on learning to play instruments and stuff?
Well, I was a little late to guitar. I didn't start playing guitar till I was 14, but I started singing in front of audiences when I was about 5. So, from then on, I wanted to perform in some way. Started being in bands, and then sort of learning how to play guitar more as an instrument to songwriting. But then after that, actually, one of the first bands I was ever in, we were just a 3-piece, and I was the only guitar player. So at that point, I thought, well, I better actually learn how to play this thing.
And then what was like, the music scene like in the area where you started?
Well, so I grew up in Virginia, and what was good about where I was it was Northern Virginia. So we had the Washington, D.C. market and the Baltimore market to play. And then there was also a Northern Virginia, Middle Virginia market that you could reach within a night. So one of the first clubs I ever played was a club on one side and a Chinese restaurant on the other side in Dumfries, Virginia, called the Tiki Fala. And but they had rock every night of the week. But living in that area, it was great because then if you wanted to expand a little bit, Philadelphia was just a few hours away. New York was maybe 5 hours away. So you had a way to sort of regionally build yourself up. And that was really, fortunate.
And then, I'm familiar with some of your earlier work, but when did Godhead come together for you?
Oh, yeah. Well, so Godhead, I started when I was in college. I went to George Mason University, and we started it in like 94.
And I'm always like, curious about, inspirations for bands and their names and stuff like that. What was going on in your life, and what led to, like Godhead?
Well, the funny thing about that name is it was, I'm a huge nerd. I wear that on my sleeve. And so there was an issue of Fantasy Gamer magazine, and in that issue there was an adventure, a published adventure, and the goal of the adventure was to capture the Godhead. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's a really cool name for a band. So I sort of kept that in the back of my head, and then one day used it for the name.
Nice. I thought maybe you went on some like spiritual journey to like Tibet or something, like Ras Al Ghul or something. Or
Right. Well, but it's funny because speaking of Ras Al Ghul, I was his singing voice on Cartoon Network on DC Superhero Girls. They Ras Al Ghul in that sort of DC timeline was a rock musician that wanted to control the world with his power of evil music. And I actually got hired to sing in 2 episodes of the show to be his singing voice. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Wow, that's awesome. I had no idea, and I just threw that out there, but I guess maybe the Godhead directed me to that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I'm in recovery, so I'm like very into spirituality and
Sure.
stuff like that. So I always love having these types of conversations. But I was always curious about that. I believe you guys I played Peabody's back in the day.
Oh yeah. I have a lot of crazy Peabody memories. Some I shall not repeat.
Some had to be told to me the next morning.
Yeah.
But hence why I've been in recovery now. But anyway, so when was it when you just decided to come back under your own, take it out under your own name?
Well, things had started to slow down for Godhead, and we found ourselves creatively making what we thought were the best albums of our lives, but because we were on smaller and smaller record labels, we felt like we were getting less and less success with them, and so it started to feel frustrating. And so then any sort of small little thing that maybe was an issue between the members, it started to escalate and get bigger. And so we decided to take a break. And what I wanted to do was something completely different. I didn't want to make a new band that sounded just like my old band, or do a solo project that sounded just like Godhead. So I started writing with a lot of different songwriters. I started making a lot of trips to Nashville and writing with some of the best songwriters in the world there, and then sort of broke everything down to just a voice and an acoustic guitar, and then started building the sound back from that. And then where I am now today is sort of a hybrid of that combined with my love of hard rock and metal. And so it's this weird Southern rock, heavy. So I call it heavy Southern rock to simplify it as much as I can, but it's a lot more complicated than that, of course. So we fit in this weird category between Southern rock, Americana, and outlaw country.
Nice, yeah, and I caught some of that when I caught you on the Faster Pussycat tour when you came through town, and I really enjoyed your sound and what you're doing.
Thank you.
I definitely like want to talk about more of the nerd side as well, that as you mentioned, because I see that I had no idea that you did we're doing some of the voice sessions or whatever for DC and everything, but like I see that you've done you play a lot of like the Final Fantasy fan festivals, and do you do any kind of any of the other like Comic-Cons?
Yeah, I usually do half a dozen at least Comic-Cons per year. So besides the big Final Fantasy 14 fan fests and the orchestra concerts that we do around that, I often go to TTRPG conventions and then sort of general fandom conventions as well. So it's a fun thing to do, and if you can fit it into your tour schedule, that's always a plus as well.
Yeah, you guys should look into I don't know if you have yet, but the Astronomicon up near Detroit that the guys in Twisted put together.
Oh yeah, I got to look into that. That'd be cool.
It's definitely one of my favorites. I mean, I hit the Fan Expo in Cleveland, and when it used to be Wizard World and stuff, and Steel City Con in Pittsburgh is a good one. But Astronomicon, done by fellow artists and stuff, it's been one of my favorites to drive up there for that, and I could see you collaborating with those guys.
Oh, for sure. I didn't know that they put that on, so that's interesting. I'll definitely have to reach out to them.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Look into that one. And speaking of some more nerddom, I see Dungeons and Dragons, really big into that. Have you guys done does some of your writing ever get inspired by a lot of these
Yeah, I mean, even Knives in the Dark, the new album, the title track is sort of Tolkien inspired. You'll find some references to the Fellowship of the Ring in there, sort of applying it to a modern take on a song. Of course, it's not literally that, but then often I get hired to write songs for video games or shows that are directly inspired by that.
And what originally got you involved with obviously being a fan for one, but how did you get involved actually being able to work with some of these games and cons, festivals?
Well, to get involved as a voice actor, what I did was I took classes and I studied a little bit, a lot actually. But when I moved to Hollywood when you're in a band, you often have touring cycles where you tour on, you record an album and then you tour on it for a long time, and then you have time when you're not on the road. And so I wanted to maximize my time doing that. And so I looked into becoming a voice actor and taking classes and slowly starting to build a reputation and relationships with producers and directors. And then I got an agent, and then I got another agent, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And, next thing you know, I'm in Halo Infinite and World of Warcraft. And, I'm the voice of Q in Star Trek Online, which is really a great role. And there's a lot of games that are coming out that I'm working on. And then I've been in, Avatar: The Last Airbender and Batman cartoon on the Cartoon Network, and then the DC Superhero Girls. And so it just kind of keeps feeding on itself, and it's a great sort of other facet of my career as an entertainer that I'm super proud of, and also thankful that I'm able to do that. I'm super lucky.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I mean, that's a world that I know me and my daughters enjoy quite a bit. Like whenever they come through town, we'll go to some of these festivals and we'll figure out, okay, which actor or actress or whoever are we going to get our annual family photo with,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they really love going to those. I've been a big fan for years, and one of the people that, of course, they really love, I guess you is a big fan of yours, Matthew Lillard. How did that?
Yeah. So we played Dungeons and Dragons together, and last year I was part of the sort of workshop team, and then I was on an episode of a show that I believe is available on Amazon now, and it's called Faster Purple Worm Kill. And Matthew created the show and hosted the show, and then we ended up playing with him on the show. And it's a really cool take on Dungeons and Dragons, because each episode is only about 45 minutes, and so it's more digestible for people who have never played the game before or don't know too much about the game. It becomes a lot easier for people to watch, and there's a lot of entertaining people to watch in it.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. He's we've been to a couple cons he's been at, and very fan friendly.
Oh, he's the best.
Good dude.
Yeah.
Goes above and beyond to make sure everybody gets like an autograph or a picture or something,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my girls will be excited to hear that I talked to one of his friends today.
Great.
And then like going back to the current album that you're out there promoting, Knives in the Dark. What was like? I mean, you kind of touched a little bit with the Tolkien references, but what other inspiration was for that? And is there like any kind of message in the album that you are sending out?
Well, I mean, in general, I think it's the most cohesive album that I've done maybe ever, as far as from beginning to end. It really has established a sound for me that I've always wanted to aspire to, but never really knew how to get there. So sound wise, that's something special. And also I felt braver to be inspired by different things. I mean, there's plenty of things that are relatable to a listener that might not be into any of the stuff that I'm into, because I try to make my lyrics as ambiguous as possible so that it can be applied to, you can apply it to yourself as a listener. But there's love songs in there, there's hate songs in there, there's sort of pontificating on the future of the world kind of stuff, and so I think there's a lot of my personality is in that album, lyrically.
Nice.
And musically.
And then the single Digging in the Dust.
Mm-hmm.
Care to talk about the inspiration for that one?
Yeah, sure. So that song in particular is sort of based on experiences that I had many, many years ago. It's about a relationship that is already over, and both sides know that it's over, but they just don't want to admit it. And I think a lot of us have been there before. This is something that I talked about with the director of the video, and if you see the music video, he sort of flips it on there. And I don't want to spoil the video, so I want people to check that out. But the idea behind that is just sort of the frustration that we all feel when we're in a situation like that.
Yeah, definitely highly recommend checking it out. It's giving me some personal reflection for some other reasons, but definitely a good, if you're just as a music fan in general, it's a great listen. But I love the ones that get, like you said, that when you're speaking from the heart on personal matters, the fans out there that may be going through something similar, it's the language of the heart that speaks to the heart usually,
Right. Yeah.
And then, so the album has been doing pretty well for you so far. And what's the reactions been with the live audience?
It's been great. Yeah, the audiences have been, super responsive, and meeting a lot of the fans after the show, and everyone's really coming up and really loving what they've heard. And so, we couldn't be happier.
And like I mentioned earlier, it's like I got to see you live when you were out with Faster Pussycat on tour with them. Some definitely OGs of the touring world.
Oh yeah.
But what's been the what's it been like being out on the road now with Steel Panther?
It's wild. You never know what's going to happen. What they told me early on was when we talked about doing the tour together, was they were like, look, we don't want to bring a band that's just like us. We want to make it the whole night a musical experience for our audience. We don't want to bring Steel Panther Jr. out, and I get that. And so, but the great thing about Steel Panther fans is they're rather genreless in the sense of, some people are there for the humor, some people are there for the music, but everyone gets that they're there to be entertained. And so we come on as almost a pleasant surprise to them. And they've been really generous and really great.
Yeah, I've been quite a fan myself. I enjoy hitting their shows when they come through town, and actually, Michael's a friend. So,
oh, great! Yeah, he's a great guy.
But I was also reading too. Another a part of some of my nerddom and stuff that I'm into. Another side of it, I see you got a connection as well. Professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Once again, that's kind of a Dungeons and Dragons connection for Brandon Cutler. So Brandon Cutler, when he was his dragon character, he reached out to me and he asked me to write his theme song, his intro music. Now, before that, there was a song that I co-wrote with Rev Theory called Hangman, and that was used on Friday Night Smackdown for years. It was the second hour theme song of Smackdown. So I've been able to write songs for WWE and for AEW.
Nice. Yeah, that's like I said, that's one of my I guess go-to distractions.
Yeah.
From the world in general. Sometimes we need those.
What I love the most is Dark Side of the Ring. That's my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just to see those behind the scenes stories. Pretty incredible.
Yeah. Always. It's mind blowing sometimes. Like, no way that how their personas portrayed. As a kid growing up, and then like, oh man, well, they're just people.
Yeah.
But And then so you got the show tonight. You're in Lexington.
Mhm.
What do you guys got planned after? I mean, obviously a couple more dates, but what's in the burner after this tour? Go back to some voice acting, or do you guys already have something else lined up for the band?
Oh, we'll be touring a lot in 2025. What I've got going on for the rest of the year are more Final Fantasy fan fests. So as soon as this tour ends, I fly home to LA, because then I have to fly to Japan, and we're doing 2 concerts at the Yokohama Arena with the Primals, which is the rock band of the composer of Final Fantasy XIV, Soken. Then I'm home for a couple of weeks. Then I go to South Korea for a week, where we do Fan Fest and a rock concert and 2 orchestra concerts. Then it hasn't been announced yet, so there's something else in November. And then right after I get back from Japan, but before I go to South Korea, we're doing our record release party, which is October 4th at Licorice Pizza Records. So there's a vinyl record store in Studio City, California, which is a suburb of Los Angeles, and we're taking over this record store and doing an in-store.
Nice, man. And I was just thinking too, while you're I don't know how many times maybe you've been over to Japan already, or South Korea on your journey, but it seems like it's still kind of going back to that godhead spirituality pilgramage.
Yeah. I will. This will be my 3rd trip to Japan. I was just in China, and then it'll be my very first trip to South Korea. So really looking forward to that.
Nice. And then so as that wraps up, is there any kind of other kind of future goals that you have, that places you still want to try and get to perform at, or any kind of nerd related places you want to still hit?
Yeah, honestly, I still want to go to New Zealand so that I can see Hobbiton, right? So I can see the Shire, because the movie set is still there. So if I can somehow get to New Zealand, I'm going there.
Nice. I remember before I retired from the Navy, one of my last training trips where I had a lot of free time to go hit some tours was in Hawaii, and I was a big fan of the show Lost. And they filmed a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I definitely got to hit a lot of that. That was kind of like
nice.
Part of my spiritual pilgrimage, I guess, as well.
There you go. Yeah.
And then, before we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you a couple questions I normally ask my guests.
Okay.
So we talked a little bit about some of your earlier inspirations in music, but who's on the playlist, or who's your top 3 listens right now that you're following artists?
Hold on. Okay. I'm just going to pull it up right now. I've been listening. Of course, I always listen to Blackberry Smoke. They're one of my favorite bands. I've been listening to, just look at my history here. The Sword, let's see.
Nice.
The New Vintage Trouble. I'm kind of all over the map,
Gotcha.
But all rock, or country, all rock, or country rock, or outlaw country. Bob Wayne. I've got a song on Bob Wayne's new album, but I love listening to him. Gosh. So that's the Rival Sons. Been jamming them a lot. When it's your turn to drive, because we all take turns driving. I gotta to jam something heavy with guitars for sure. But melody, I still want some melody in there.
Gotcha. And then, who are 3 people who've inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today?
Well, obviously my parents, right? So that's 1 and 2. but maybe somebody mythically that inspired me or inspired me from afar. Boy, that's tough. It's tough to narrow it down. I mean, J.R. Tolkien's right there, too. From
that third one's always the toughest.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll go with. I'm always terrible at these things, and then I remember the answer. I think of a really good answer after the fact.
Yeah, you'll be in the middle of your set, and then all of a sudden the light bulb goes off, right?
Frank Sinatra. No, I'm just kidding.
Nice.
Because what made me the man that I am? I mean, that's so, or maybe the person that I am. That it all of a sudden the sky opens up, and you're like, oh God, what is the right answer to this? I don't know. Maybe my high school history teacher, Mr. Carr.
Yeah, I love getting those answers, man.
Yeah.
You know. And then are there
you know what?
I
Okay, I'll tell you who this is. Her name is Sue Alexander, and she was my choir teacher in high school, and she kicked our ass. She instilled hard work and practice ethics in me like you wouldn't believe. Susan Alexander is really the reason why I have a career, because I was so lucky to have a choir director like her. So there you go.
Nice. Shout out to Susan. And then any causes or organizations that you support and encourage others to check out?
Oh yeah, definitely. So Guitars for Vets is a charity that I work with a lot,
Nice.
where we raise money to buy guitars and guitar lessons for veterans, because it's been proven that music can help with PTSD. And also, for the last 2 years in a row, we've performed at the Ronnie James Dio Cancer Benefit. And so the Ronnie James Dio Cancer Fund is something that I fully support and behind, and try to be as involved with as I can.
Nice. Yeah, I've been looking into that the Guitar for Vets program as well. I actually had a veteran who's a country music artist, Johnny Cole Murdoch, on the podcast, and he's very involved with that as well. So I like that program.
Great.
Definitely love.
Well, hey, they're giving me the signal. I think we actually have to. I've got to jump in there for sound check. Luckily, this podcast got me out of loading in, but now my band members are going to be pissed at me.
Gotcha. Hey, well then, real quick before I let you go, you mind doing me one last favor?
Yeah, no problem.
Just cutting a promo ID for the show. Just introduce yourself, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
Sure. This is Jason Charles Miller, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
Awesome, Jason, man. Thank you so much for your time. I'm glad we made this happen. And then one more thing really quick, for any fans that might be new to hearing about you through the podcast, where would you send them to check you guys out and support you?
So send them to jasoncharlesmiller.com, and then that gives you a link to my music. It gives you a link to all of my social media. I'm really active on social media: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok, and YouTube. So if you're in any of those, you can find me there, and you will be seeing stuff from me almost on a daily basis.
Awesome. All right, Jason. Thanks a lot, man, for your time. Glad we made this happen. Have a good show tonight.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.